are CKCO-TV.
CKCO-TV, Channel 13, Kitchener-Waterloo. BD Alka-Seltzer presents Newsdesk, a roundup of news at home and around the world, reported by Alan Hodge.
Headlining tonight's news, first of all, a Kitchener woman was killed today in a highway accident.
Image that you want to project. I think that when we did leave the red jackets behind, though, we did attract
Half a century ago, products like these were being manufactured by a small Kitchener company that grew from only 150 employees in 1929 to a multinational company employing several thousand.
Good morning, I'm Pamela McKenzie for Nightwatch. Premier Frank Miller wants improvements to the auto industry, and he hopes to convince his counterparts in other provinces to support Canadian content regulations for foreign-made cars.
Covering Southern Ontario, this is CKCO Television, now CKCO-TV News Preview. Good afternoon, I'm Brent Hansen.
And I'm Brenda Irving. These are the stories we are working on for the Scan News Hour at 6 o'clock.
A United States Navy frigate that sustained heavy damage when hit by an Iraqi missile is now limping towards port in the Persian Gulf. In Ontario tonight, a 15-year-old girl survives a 17-hour liver transplant operation at Sick Children's Hospital in Toronto. Doctors say she's recovering well. Ontario's major department store officials want the government to crack down on stores that stay open tomorrow and say they'll be watching closely to make sure it does. And a warning for prospective homeowners: read the fine print before you try to buy a home.
Well, December will once again show its many faces this week in southern Ontario. A weather system will produce some snow for tomorrow in mostly the southern districts of the province, but then much colder air will move in for Monday and Tuesday. We're watching quite carefully a weather system that could produce a mixed bag of precipitation for Wednesday.
Coming up in sports, 6 games on top in the NHL. A full report later. Action from the Masters Tennis Tournament in New York. And at the Kitchener Auditorium, the World Junior Skating Championships. Today, the ladies' final in the ice dance competition were held. All the results are on the way for you.
Covering Southern Ontario, this is CKCO Television. The CKCO-TV News team presents the Ontario Report.
Good evening, I'm Brent Hansen. A 33-year-old Brantford man has been charged with first-degree murder in connection with the death of his 7-month-old daughter.
I went to Cuba this past winter. We're talking about vacation.
And you know something? I did too.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were going.
No.
Did you know I was going?
No, but I went to a different part of the island.
Where'd you go?
I went to the southern part of the island. You went where? Up around?
Northeast.
Northeast, yeah.
The Scan News Hour.
Good evening, I'm Pamela Mackenzie.
And I'm Ron Johnston.
From CKCO-TV News. The Ontario Report.
Good evening, I'm Colleen Walsh. Brent Hansen is on vacation this week. A head-on crash near Midland has claimed 2 lives.
Tonight on Southwest This Week, recommendations to close a Windsor hospital, fired for taking lunch, and making teddy bears.
Good evening. When it comes to politicians, there is cynicism among voters. These days, people are changing governments with regularity. Lynn MacLeod, the leader of the Ontario Liberals, knows what it's like to lose office to an angry public. She became leader after the NDP victory, and she's here today to talk about ways to change the system. And
now, a CKCO-TV News update.
Good evening, I'm Janine Graspan. An opposition MP says budget cuts may force patients out of 10 psychiatric hospitals.
In the news tonight, an OHL star charged with sexual assault, the pulse of the country on the eve of the budget, and old beliefs, new believers.
From Southwestern and Central Ontario's #1 news team, this is CKCO-TV News.
Good evening. The NHL's top draft pick of last year is charged with sexual assault. 19-year-old Ed Jovanovski, along with 2 of his Windsor Spitfire teammates.
Tonight, what would happen if it was his life? Like if his whole face was gone? What would have happened then?
A child, the victim of a dog attack, and as well of hospital cutbacks.
Good evening. Another pit bull attack.
Tonight, we're here to give the silent majority a voice. The fight to keep your clothes on.
Good evening. Are women in Ontario ready to go topless in public? And are we ready to accept it? Not according to a Cambridge woman prepared to fight to have that right reversed.
And as the weather heats up, so does the topless debate.
From CKCO Action News, a special town hall debate, going topless in Ontario.
A CKCO News update brought to you by Car Canada. Think of the money you're going to save.
Ahead at 11:30, an important meeting tonight at Kitchener Council. They'll be talking about what to do with the former Canada Blower Plant property.
Tonight on CKCO News at 6. It's a crackdown on school uniforms. Waterloo's Uptown taking shape. And Viagra comes to Canada.
Good evening. The province is considering school dress codes in the future, but schools with standards in place are struggling to enforce their policy.
Tonight on CKCO News at 11:30.
A chain reaction crash sends 6 people to hospital. A major bust for Woodstock police. And keeping time in a big way.
Good evening. After record audiences in its first night, CTV has announced it is planning more episodes of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Canadian Edition.
This is a special report from CKCO News.
Hi, how's your New Year's Eve going? We're having a fine time down here at Kitchener's Victoria Park.
This is CKCO News at 6.
Good evening. A Kitchener company and 2 others from southwestern Ontario are accused in an international trading scheme with Saddam Hussein's Iraq.
Tonight on CKCO News at 11:30.
Coping with fears about a sexual predator, bringing back the conservation concept, and the dangers of outlawing double hatters.
This is CKCO News at 11:30.
Good evening. Police are looking to the public to get help with their investigation into child abduction attempts.
Tonight on Provincewide, half of contact lens wearers give up because of dry eyes, but breakthrough research at this Waterloo lab is helping to solve that problem.
There's a whole new type of contact lens material around these days.
A legacy of corruption and violence, a UN expert with an outlook on Haiti's future.
This is the king of coins.
And how a Kitchener woman is finding success in ancient card telling.
From CKCO News, this is Provincewide. Here now, CKCO's Diane Verneil.
Good evening and welcome to Provincewide. Tonight we're taking you inside a lab at the University of Waterloo to show you some groundbreaking research that's underway. It's at the School of Optometry. They wanted to find out why half of all people who wear contact lenses give up.
Another fatal crash between two tractor trailers.
This is CKCO News at 6.
Good evening. 5 deaths in 2 days on a stretch of Highway 401.
3 people were killed today in a fiery crash near Chatham. Just yesterday, 2 more lost their lives in a rollover.
Good afternoon. The third in line. Good evening. These are
Tonight, a wild ride through Waterloo region causing havoc on the streets. And donations to local legions for poppies is on track to be a record-setting year. Good evening. It had the appearance of a demolition derby after a vehicle crashed its way along a Kitchener roadway today.
Tonight on Provincewide, how to build a theater empire from a modest start to 7 live performance venues and other communities now trying to get in on the action.
In just over the last week and a half, we've been offered 4 more theaters around the province.
Doing business in China, what an Ontario Development Centre is telling Canadian entrepreneurs about tackling this Asian mega market. And how she went from a couch potato to a bodybuilding superstar after the age of 40. We meet up with Eat Clean Crusader Toscarino.
From CTV News, this is Provincewide. Here now, CTV's Diane Verneil.
Good evening and welcome to Provincewide. From humble beginnings in a small Ontario town, theatre mogul Alex Moustakis has accomplished what few have ever managed, and that is to build a mini empire of live theatre venues. It's a tough business, even tougher getting bums in seats during rocky economic times.
Tonight, on a special edition of Provincewide, the economy is bouncing back, but where are the jobs? 1.5 million Ontarians are out of work. We're talking to people who got the pink slip.
Quite honestly, I was devastated.
Saw their businesses go down.
You cannot imagine how you feel when you are facing extinction.
But are reinventing themselves.
I don't have to answer to anybody, which is a wonderful thing.
What you should know about career planning, starting a business, and coping with job loss.
On location at Kitchener City Hall, a CTV Town Hall special. Starting over, life after downsizing. Here now, CTV's Diane Verneil.
Well, we keep hearing the recession is over. The economy is showing some modest signs of growth. That's the good news, but here's the bad news.
This is CTV News at noon.
Good afternoon. More traffic delays along Highway 401 west of Kitchener today as crews clean up the aftermath of a fatal crash at the Nith River Bridge.
Tonight, Rob Ford comes clean.
Folks, I have nothing left to hide.
Toronto's mayor admits his drug use, but says he isn't going anywhere.
I was elected to do a job, and that's exactly what I'm going to continue doing.
BlackBerry payday.
It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody involved in the company.
Reaction as Torsten Hines makes an exit with millions.
You get bonuses when you're successful. You don't get bonuses when you fail.
And next stop, Kitchener.
And I think this portrayal of sexuality is irresponsible and frankly dangerous for young people.
A controversial sex exhibit designed for teens on its way.
We're not going to sensationalize this. We're not going to have racy ads that get pulled on purpose.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
Windsor.
But no, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors, probably approximately about a year ago.
Good evening. That was Rob Ford outside his office over the lunch hour, admitting on the record he smoked crack cocaine. It was a stunning announcement, and it did not end there. Just 90 minutes ago, another bizarre speech watched around the world. Ford apologized and then appealed for votes in the next election. Here's a portion of that speech from Ford himself.
Good evening. On the eve of Earth Day, environmentally conscious students gathered at KCI. They are part of a larger global movement that aims to save planet Earth.
Today on CTV News at noon, returning to the scene of the crime, the Cambridge restaurant that's been broken into twice by the same person. Good afternoon. Two break-ins 3 days apart at the same location. Police are asking for help identifying a man who broke into Frida's place.
Good afternoon. This is CTV News at 5.
Today, backyard barbecue. Inspiration for easy entertaining in your food fix.
Night pleading for help.
Bring some kind of closure, please.
To find a killer.
Someone out there knows something.
The search for answers in a triple homicide. Multiple pileups.
I scooted out of the way, someone hit me.
Prompt a warning from police.
And there was blowing snow at the time.
What to do behind the wheel in a whiteout. A Valentine's Day love story.
There's a bond that's been there all the time.
The Kitchener couple celebrating 65 years of marriage.
It's getting sweeter every day.
Their secret to lasting love. Good evening. 3 months after their loved ones were found dead in a stolen pickup truck, grieving families in 6 nations.
Tonight,
we're thankful that, we're alive, to be honest.
2 suspicious fires on one Cambridge street.
When I came out, I seen fire trucks just flying up the street. There's fire trucks here.
What happened in this neighborhood that left 2 families on edge?
CTV News at 11:30 with Alexandra Pinto.
Good evening. Some horrific scenarios are running through a Cambridge family's mind as they try to piece together what happened in their usually quiet backyard. At around 1:30 this morning, they discover their shed on fire. Good afternoon. OPP have responded to 2 fatal crashes yesterday afternoon. One in Perth County, the other in Wellington County, and both involving trucks on rural roadways. CTV's Krista Simpson is following this story and joins us live with an update now. Krista.
Good afternoon. It's a long-awaited apology that hopes to bring healing and reconciliation. The Pope's historic visit has already included an apology on Canadian soil for the first time for the Catholic Church's role in generations of systemic abuse in the residential school system.
Yeah, that's right. But as CTV's Spencer Turcott tells us, the local Indigenous population says an apology can't erase decades of harm.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. CTV News at 6 starts now.
Tonight, trying to get back to business.
There aren't enough
revenue dollars generated to make the model sustainable.
Why some shop owners say new guidelines won't work.
It's coming. It's inevitable. The numbers keep going down. We're going to get the economy going.
And the province's plans for the next phase of reopening. A Cambridge man accused of murder in the shooting death of a Toronto teen. The investigation and the others charged. Lineups.
I'm happy we're getting back to normal.
At the landfill.
It's probably our busiest Monday that we'll have on record.
What hundreds of people were waiting to drop off at the Waterloo waste site.
Good evening. We begin with developing news. Waterloo Regional Police have charged 2 people in the shooting death of Yafit Razin. The 19-year-old was shot and killed at a party just before Christmas last year. CTV's Jeff Pickle joins us from the Kitchener Police Detachment. Jeff, what do we know about these arrests?
We begin tonight with 2 deadly collisions on local roads here in southwestern Ontario. One crash happening near Tavistock in Perth East, the other in Mapleton Township in Wellington County, setting off police investigations that are still unfolding at this hour. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. 2 people are dead following 2 separate crashes, each involving trucks and each happening along rural roads earlier tonight. We begin in Wellington County, about halfway between Drayton and Palmerston.
Bring it